The Clayman Institute at Stanford University undertook this study because we identified this issue, dual career couple hiring, as the next great challenge for universities. Our study surveyed 30,000 faculty across the United States. These are faculty at top research universities, 13 of the top research universities in the United States, and they are faculty who are in tenure-track positions and in full-time positions. In the report, the first section looks at demographics, so you get a sense of the size of the issue and how it has changed over the years. The second part of the report really looks at couples and their values and how they function in this market. And the third part of the report, we have gone through the entire hiring process and lay out what universities across the country are doing, what are the major problems, and what kind of solutions have been brought to these problems. The data in our study looked at married couples, unmarried couples, and same-sex couples. So we took a broad view of the American professorate. Academic couples comprise 36% of the American professorate, representing a deep pool of talent that universities cannot afford to overlook. One thing that we found that is important is that dual career hiring has increased from about 3% in the 1970s to 13% in the 2000s. So we see that there's a steady increase in this kind of hiring. Women faculty are more likely than men to be in an academic partnership. 40% of our respondents have academic partners and 34% of the men respondents have academic partners. The big difference in the academic workforce between men and women is that 20% of men have stay-at-home partners, only 5% of women, and the women tend to be single much more often than the men. Now, in our survey, we asked a question: whose career comes first in your relationship? Who follows whom? Very important issue. Half of the men raised their hand and said, mine, me, we follow my career. The women, overwhelmingly, 59%, said both careers are equal. Now, I have some advice for couples. Talk to each other. 43% agreed or strongly agreed that couple hiring prevents open competition. Only 26% strongly agreed or agreed somewhat that couple hiring disrupts the intellectual direction of the departments. 71% agreed that couple hiring increases the number of women on faculty. About half of the faculty agreed that it increases the number of underrepresented minority, or at least that's their perception. The academic marketplace is brutal.
At Berkeley, we are in the luxury position of being able to look for just the best.
To be totally honest, institutions are very, very new to this process of hiring dual career couples.
If we want to be competitive for the best scholars, we need to be able to address the partner hiring issues.
And so I think that presents a great opportunity for couples to come up with their own list of needs and demands and to present those to institutions. Main piece of advice that I have for a dual career academic couple is to really think outside of the box.
The thing about universities is that nothing is ever the same, right? Every department is different, every job position is different, every search committee is different, every couple is different.
There are differences, and I think probably the key difference, frankly, is resources. Institutions that have more resources are able to make more happen.
Is it okay to work in different institutions that are 50 miles apart, or do we need to stay close by? Are evenings important? You know, all the lifestyle kinds of things that you want to see both as a professional and as a family.
I would say to recruits, figure out what really matters to you. Figure out where you can be flexible and where you can't.
Because it's unpredictable, you really have to start down the path with a clear set of what's important.
It makes a huge difference to someone like me if the person I'm working with has points of flexibility, but also knows where they're not.
I think in a lot of cases, dual career couples, academic couples meet in graduate school, and then they might be on the same timeline or a different timeline, and then they have to figure out where are we going to go for our jobs.
The timing, how you go about looking for positions, is something that the couple should discuss.
The idea that you can somehow, hold back one career for a while so that the other career will catch up and then miraculously something is going to happen just is not a very good strategy.
But it is the case that in some relationships there will be a senior person. What that does to that couple is it means that if that person follows their career pathway, it means that they will always be the senior person and always be a step ahead, and that this second partner will always be following.
Two individuals have to have the self-confidence that they're going to be successful, and they have to be successful, because if they're not going to survive at a place like Stanford anyway.
I was in the running for a position at Stanford and some other places.
When you start getting down to it, there aren't that many places that have great medical schools, research intensive, and great chemistry departments, and right next to each other.
Stanford was a place that Jennifer knew well because she had completed a postdoc here, she knew the faculty here.
Yeah, so it turned out that the chief of hematology at the time knew me from medical school and sort of, I guess, thought I was good. Oh. And he came up with this idea that, well, if Linda does sort of an abbreviated clinical training in hematology, which is very related to oncology, we'd love to have her on the faculty with us.
I think we were both open to living in different places in the country, so we weren't wedded to the East Coast, we weren't necessarily wedded to the West Coast, and so that helps.
And at first, I didn't think that this made a lot of sense.
The one downside of the position here was that my position would be tenure track at Stanford, but the Jennifer's position would not be tenure track initially. It would be for a term of years.
And in hindsight, it turns out I love this aspect of the clinical practice much more than oncology, so that worked out well.
But in terms of the institution itself, I think it was a case where it was a win-win for both of us, because we both thought that the institution itself was great and would offer many benefits individually.
So it wasn't a huge compromise, but it meant delaying for a year, taking a job, but I already delayed it for so long, I figured what's another year.
My position was converted ultimately, or regularized ultimately, and so I guess Rick got tenure maybe 4 years ago, and then I got tenure 2 years ago. So it kind of happened at different stages.
Well, we didn't need to make compromises, as it turned out.
We
were very lucky.
Made some.
We were very lucky.
Our report found that of the second hires, so that is to say the partner hire, 74% of those are women.
Still a bit of discomfort on my part, because you were the partner, they were trying to make things work so that my spouse would stay.
So this is why I was saying earlier that universities really should look at women as first hires, because this is a great way to create gender equality at your university.
And it was not totally comfortable. And again, this was, 20 years ago? I don't think Stanford had a lot of experience doing this. And certainly there were some things that could have been done more smoothly.
We found also in another part of the report that women tend to value their career equally with their partner, but that their partners tend to value their own career the most.
But it worked out, and I remember people telling me, well, it's okay if they're hiring you because, your spouse is on the faculty, but don't think that you'll get tenure just because of that. You're going to really have to do something, and I guess that was supposed to make me feel better.
This data is useful to universities because there are lots of stories about couples which circulate in the hallways. What we have is real data. You can see how many couples there are for hire, what kind of partners people have, what people's values are, what you need to do in order to anchor top talent to your university.